If you have your Bibles, turn to Genesis. Okay, Genesis 32, sorry, 32, verse 22 to 24. We are skipping a few chapters here. So I really recommend that after today's sermon, or maybe you have before already done so, read the scriptures and confirm it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Okay, 32, verse 22 to 24. Let me read 22, you read 23, and we'll read 24 together. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And Jacob together, and Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. Amen. Okay, so before we get into the scripture passage, just want to mention, how many of you guys have heard the acronym for Bible? Anyone heard that before? Yeah, basic instructions before leaving Earth. Let me repeat that again. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. Yeah, there's so many sayings. What's another one? God helps those who help themselves. Have you heard that one before? What is that? Another one? There's a lot. And the point is, these sayings and it's so what is it? There's so many misunderstandings of what the Word of God is, and I myself also. I don't have a perfect understanding of Scripture, but for the most part, growing up in the church, growing up reading the Bible, when I was younger, even writing the book of Genesis and trying to, read the Bible and get through Genesis. And when I got to Exodus, I just give up. And then Leviticus and Numbers, and very difficult to read. But when I was younger, so many misunderstandings about the scripture, about the Bible, about my relationship with God. For the most part, I thought it was I do for God, and then God does for me. If I do, and if I don't obey, or if I don't follow the instructions of God, that there's some kind of punishment for me. It's not that God doesn't want us to follow his instructions. There are instructions in the Bible, by the way. Love God, love others. It's not that God doesn't want us to follow those instructions, but the way and manner in which I had to do those, the motivation behind that, was all wrong. A lot of times it was fear. If I don't, oh my gosh, dun 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 dun. You know that in the thought in the back of your mind when something goes wrong is like, dang, did I do something wrong? Like, did I not, Oh, maybe it was that thing that I did. And the way that the relationship with God works is not aligned to what the Bible is talking about. And I had that misunderstanding for a very, very long time. And I still have remaining scar tissue, so to speak, from that. But what the Bible points out, it's not the instructions that God has for us to follow to please him. It's not a book of, you do this, then God's pleased with you, and he's going to bless you, and you're going to get to heaven if you do X, Y, Z. That's not the core point of the Bible at all. It's actually the farthest thing from what God's message is. So when God instructs us to love him, when God instructs us to love others, why does he do that? Why does he instruct us to love him? Why does he instruct us to love others? Everyone, believer, non-believer alike. Why is that? Because that's how we were originally made to be. Okay? That's what makes us human. Created in the image of God, the creator of the universe. And as we sang, it's everywhere. The voice of him screams. You look at a tree, the more science advances, look at cells, DNA. It screams creator. And we're created to know him, to love him. Not just know him by, oh, I know God, or I believe in God. Not just logically in your mind. We are created to have sustenance with him, intimate relationship. More than you could ever imagine with a human being is how we're created. The very essence of us is created to be connected to God. Fish created to live in the water, trees created to live in the ground, birds to fly in the sky. Human beings created in God's image with a spirit, with a soul. That's why God says love him. And that's why God says love others. The value of human beings is not, as the movie Matrix would portray, electricity, just a battery, or just flesh, or just, the calculations of the worth of a human being far extends just this body. Everyone, by the way, believer and non-believer. The death of our physical body is not the end of us. That's how valuable we are. We are eternal beings, fearfully created by the Creator. And God instructs us to love him because that's how we were created to be. To love him, and then in that original design of who we are, loving each other. Believer and unbeliever alike. The Bible story is that this is how it originally was, and a problem came to this relationship. God in his almighty power creates human beings with free will, with the ability not to have to obey, but the choice. The same choices that we have today. To love God or love self, love whatever. And the original choice of disbelief and sin is what is the story that the Bible is laying out. And because of that sin, it's not just sin. It's how serious is sin, is that Adam and Eve's sin connects us to Satan. It's not a default. It's a absolute separation from God because of God's holiness. And a direct connection to Satan. That's the introduction of the Bible. And if you don't know the introduction, if you don't know where the source of the problem begins, you cannot apply the right solution and answer. And the good news is that God's solution, by the way, it's the only solution possible because no one can pay for sin. Well, I mean, you could, but you would have to die eternally. That's how heavy and serious the weight of sin is. People don't want to talk about it. A lot of churches don't want to talk about it, but you got to talk about it because that's the issue. Is the sin of Adam and Eve, our sins every day, by the way, also, as a result of that original sin. It's so serious before God because he's perfect. He's holy. That it cannot be overlooked. And from the beginning, God promises that he himself will take care of it. Isn't that good news? No? Some of you look like you're kind of like, oh, I don't know. That's the gospel. What you deserve, Adam, what you deserve, Eve, what you deserve, Pastor Sam, I'm not going to count it on you. I'm going to take care of it. And I'm going to call a people. I'm going to give this covenant to a group of people, and I'm going to give it to Adam, give that covenant, blood covenant to Adam. I'm going to pass it to Abraham, to Isaac, and now we're here at Jacob. And through the nation, now his name gets changed to Israel. Through that nation, I will send the Christ. The offspring of the woman who will come, pay the debt of sin. I myself will come. John chapter 1. Pay the debt, destroy the authority and power of Satan, and make the way. The Old Testament is a story of God's people holding to the promise, letting go of the promise. When holding to the promise, keeping it for themselves, not for others, as God instructed and promised from the beginning, all families will be blessed. All families, not just your family, not just your people, all families. And they would lose that. They wouldn't even look at that. And it's the story of the people of God constantly, over and over again, lose hold of the covenant, disbelief, humanism, mistakes, horrendous mistakes, crimes, murder. I know it's not really pleasant to talk about. We're going to get to a part of the passage. It's pretty graphic. This is not the story of just people in the Bible. This is our story. People look at this story and they say, oh my gosh, all these problems. And yeah, because they're what kind of God is that? It's not God doing this stuff. It's man. It's us. Created in his image with free will, willingly, freely. Not only sinning against God, but sinning against each other. Does it make sense? And God, instead of looking at all this messiness and ugliness, right? Instead of looking at us and saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm got Koreans coming. Oh, you are so, he sees that too, by the way, right? But instead of pointing the finger like we're used to having that relationship with God and him saying, that's it, no more, that's enough, you've done too much. Canceled. No longer in my favor. Instead of that, God is always faithful to his promise. The Bible is a wonderful story of God's redemptive work, his unfailing faithfulness and covenant that will not be changed. And when he says, you're mine, when he says, I call you, it's not a license to do whatever you want, but because if you do, you can. It's going to be painful. You're going to suffer, but he's never going to let you go. In fact, he's so powerful that even in the mistakes, he's sovereign. It's just amazing. It's just mind-blowing to understand that. Even in your disbelief, your own humanism, maybe even your own fear, God's still sovereign over it. Just unbelievable. But it's not an excuse. It's not a license. But if you do use it that way and you abuse it, well, good for you. God loves you so much that he's going to bring you back after you're all beaten up. The Bible is not a story of what we do for God. It's what God does for us. What God promises for us and what he accomplishes to the T, in Jesus' words, to the dot, will be fulfilled. So here we are at Jacob. What a great example. A lot of people, you might think, oh, that's Jacob. No, that's you and me. So Jacob cheats his brother, plans and plots when he's, we don't have to do that anymore. I mean, some people do, but you go out into the field and you work and you hunt all day and you're hunting animals, hunting animals is what they don't, like, you don't, hey, come, and then, you shoot the animal. You have to wait. Like, I've always wanted to go hunting, maybe, but I heard that sometimes you could wait for days out there, and sometimes they wear, okay, let's not go that graphic. You can't even go bathroom. Like the real extreme guys that really want to get the game, the choice game, they have to wear diapers. No, for reals, because when you move, animals smell that stuff. You got to be like down, anyway. Let's not go there. Sorry, forgive me. But knowing Esau would come back from that hunting, tired, exhausted, from just, they didn't have cell phones. He couldn't do like, TikTok while he's waiting. He just has to just sit there, And he'd come home, he'd be so hungry, and Jacob used that opportunity. Hey, this looks good, huh? This lentil soup, this filled with meat and vegetables and all this stuff. And oh man, I'm about to die. Okay, good. Just sell me a birthright. Yeah, what does my birthright have to do with it? I'm going to die right now. He tricks his brother, and then he tricks his father. And not just tricks him, he deceives him to the point of Isaac gives him opportunities to tell the truth. Hey, are you really Esau? Yes. Come here, come closer to me. And all the deception in him and that his mother did. And now he gets his own taste of his own medicine a little bit. Goes to Laban, Rachel's brother, and wants to marry Rachel. Gets tricked to Leah, and then has to work for Rachel another 7 years, 14 years. And then he's still there working off almost 20 some odd years, 20 plus years there. He put himself in this situation. So Jacob has many children from Leah. Finally, Rachel, who was barren, has Joseph. And then he tells Laban and says, and God tells him also, instructs him, it's time to leave. Okay, go to Bethel, where I instructed you, where I gave you the covenant in the dream. Go to that place. So Jacob goes to Laban and says, I'm giving the Korean pronunciation of Laban because I'm so used to hearing Laban. Laban, forgive me, I've only been 1 year yet, since 18 years in Korea. Okay. And he says, let's make a deal. Come on. I've been here over 20 years. It's time for me to go. And, there should be some compensation. He's just using his mind. And, it's rightful, right? And they come to an agreement on how they're going to do that. And then I won't go into the details. You can read it yourself on how he uses his mind and uses his plans to get the strongest goats from the herd. Very specific way. And Laban, trying to trick him, takes the male goats out, takes the right female goats out, and still Jacob's method works because of the way that his mind works. So what does that cause? More division. It's just Jacob using his mind. Where it could have easily gone, there's so much, there's plenty of goats, there's plenty of land, there's plenty to go around, yet they're trying to get more than the other guy. And finally, Jacob, instead of telling Laban that he's leaving, leaves in the night. And Rachel, when he leaves, what does Rachel do? Takes some of her father's household gods and idols. Household idols in that time were, if you go to India or you go to other countries, they have idols and shrines. And the reason why they have that is for protection. Right? People that worship idols, they're not doing it because they know what they're doing. They're doing it for the protection of their family. It's not bad and ill intent. They just don't know what's going on. That when they bow down to idols, when they're looking at bowing down to images, that they're calling on evil spirits, they don't know that. They're doing it for their family. And Laban had some in his house for his family. And Rachel steals them. That household, something else, Still not going to block the covenant. So he leaves in the night, and Laban is furious. Where am I? It's not just, where are my daughters? Where are my grandchildren? He goes into his room and says, where are my idols? That's protecting my family. Oh, I'm going to get him. All right. And here's Jacob putting himself, knowingly or unknowingly, in this situation. And then, like we do, when problems come, what do? God. And he prays. And before he prays, what does he do? He splits his family in two camps, right? It's mind again. It's very logical. If he's going to come after me and kill me, well, he'll just take half my family. And the other half gets away. What a dude, man, And then he splits, and then after he makes his plan, he comes to God and he says, God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good. And he says, I'm not worthy of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. For only with my staff I crossed this Jordan and now have become two camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him that he may come and attack me, the mothers with the children. But you said, I will surely do you good and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for a multitude. Jacob's prayer isn't, God, you promised. I don't believe, so please help me believe. It's not a, God, I know who you are and what you've done already, what you promised me, but I can't believe it. It's not that. It's, I'm scared. You said you're going to do it, so you got to do it. Not the worst prayer. Not the worst prayer. It's a scared prayer. It's a scared prayer, but at least it's a prayer. It comes before God. He's saying, this is what you've said. This is what your promise is. No inclusion of the total covenant of Genesis 28, 13 through 15. The original covenant given to Jacob from God was, I will be with you always, and I will accomplish what I promised you. I will accomplish what I promised you, and all families of the world will be blessed. There's no content of that in his prayer. God, you promised that you're going to bless me, and it's not just bless me. For all people, you said you're going to be with me. I know you're with me. There's no content of that. He's just afraid. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Just worry. Laban's coming. What do we do? God, please deliver me. So even whatever, Jacob's situation, what he did, what he got into, what he did, what Rachel did, doesn't matter. Okay? God appears to Laban and tells him not to do anything. And then he comes to Esau. So Laban finally catches up with them. God comes in and instructs them not to leave. Laban catches up, looking for the idols. Jacob, not knowing that Rachel stole the idols, Jacob says, well, whoever has the idols will be dead. I'll kill her or kill them. Not knowing that Rachel took it. Rachel, again, also using her own ways and deception, hides those idols in the satchel of her camel and sits on top of them and says, I have the way of the woman. I cannot stand. And I got things a little bit backwards here. I'm sorry. Laban's situation happens first, and then the splitting of the family wasn't when Laban came. I'm sorry. Laban was chasing him. It's when he had to face Esau. So he went through the Laban situation. God interjected and said, Laban, don't do anything. Now he's here at Esau, and this is where he splits his family. He comes to God and he prays, says, deliver me. I'm afraid he's going to kill me. The same fear that he had for Laban, same fear of Esau. I don't want to die. I don't want my family to die. Protect me, deliver me. He prays. And then after he prays, he comes up with a plan. This is his backup plan, right? Just in case God didn't hear my prayer, just in case God didn't answer my prayer, this is what I'm going to do. And what does he do? He sends gifts to his brothers, and this is what he sends. 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their calves, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. And then what does he do? He sends these things in droves, in waves, not all at once. So smart, right? Because if you said it all at once, it's like, the shock factor is like, boom, like, whoa. And then after it's like, okay, But if it comes in waves, it's like, whoa, goats? Okay, whoa, that lot of goats. Whoa, cows? Whoa, camels? Whoa, rams? Donkeys? And it's just droves and droves and droves. Imagine the planning, the coordination that had to go through separating those animals and sending them in droves. Are you following me? He prayed before, he prayed, okay, God. And then he's back to his like, okay, but just in case. And he makes all these plans. He sets the plan in motion. And then the second point of the day, finally, at that same night, he's left alone. You know, sometimes when you're so surrounded with things going on in your life, and it's going to happen, right? You know, things happen. You know, situations happen. You know, arguments can happen or something, anything. This is life. Problems happen. Sometimes it's very difficult to have time to stand before God because of those things. You're too busy trying to solve it, trying to fix it. But when everything's set in motion and all the plans are and everyone's gone and it's just him and his family, his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, he sends them across the stream, and there Jacob is alone. Finally. And he realizes, even though he makes all these plans, he set the plan in motion. If God does not bless it, if God is not there, it's for nothing. So this is the famous passage where Jacob wrestles God. And he's wrestling God for so long till the breaking of the dawn, and his hip is put out of the joint. And he's holding on to God, wrestling with God in a human form. It's happened before in the Old Testament. And he's wrestling and holding, and says, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. Even with the dislocated hip, he's wrestling there. And a lot of people look at that story and they're like, man, Jacob beat God. Wrestled with God and he won. He won. Are you kidding me? Did Jacob really beat God in wrestling? That's like me wrestling Isaiah, my son, when he was like 6 years old. And he's going to beat me? Well, he might be able to beat me now. I mean, he's pretty strong now, seriously. No, God let him win. And he held on to him all night. He would tell him, okay, all right, break your hip. Okay. Oh, you win. But what is Jacob's desire? What is he doing? He's doing it out of fear still. Holding God out of fear. Please, please, bless me. I'm not going to let you go and let you bless me. I don't want to die. My brother's got 400 soldiers. He's going to kill me and my family. You got to bless me. See, that's not the right prayer that Jacob should have. But still, it's prayer. And because God has chosen Jacob in that line, he is faithful in his covenant, keeping his covenant. He's not swayed by it. He's just, okay. Look, and before blessing him, he says, look, Jacob, look, I'm going to tell you who you are, okay? You are mine. I'm going to give you a new name. You're no longer Jacob. I'm going to give you a new identity. Your name shall be Israel. So God gives Jacob a new identity. And he's faithful to his promise and covenant. Okay? And even after that experience with wrestling God, what does Esau do? Do you think that at that point then, finally he would be like, after receiving the blessing from God, he'd be like, oh, cool, all right, I'm Israel. Man, dude, like, man. Instead of having that confidence, he still has to face Esau with 400 soldiers. And what does he do? He still divides his family in two. Still. Oh, just in case. Just in case. Hey, you go, split, Joseph, Rachel, you go in the farthest back, you're the farthest in the back, and Leah, and I'll go in the front. So if I die, split. Okay? Leah's going to split first, so, then Rachel and Joseph, you guys will probably be safe. And all of this worry, all of this fear, all of this doubt, all of this planning, and then what happens when he finally meets Esau with 400 men coming? And what does Esau do? Runs to Jacob. embraces him, fell on his neck. It's not just like, hey, what's up, bro? It's like, bro, kisses him, and they wept. They wept together. What does Esau say? Who are these children with you? God has blessed you. Who are these children with you? And why did you send all those droves, stupid? I don't need that stuff. I got plenty. Keep it. I just wanted to find a favor on you. And then he does the Korean thing. You know the Korean thing where, someone's giving you food and you say, I'm full. And they say, are you sure? Eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more. And so Jacob's like, no, you take it. And Esau's like, no, I have enough. You don't know, you have to take it because you have to take it. You have to. And at the time, and then after that, Esau's like, okay, fine, take it. Jeez. Jacob then builds an altar, Sabak, place of slaughter, to worship God. And what does he name it? He names it after himself. El, God, Israel. My place of worship to God. Fine. But just for him. And then, I'm going to go to this last point. And then, after this whole thing, he meets Esau. God's instructed him to go to Bethel. He doesn't go to Bethel. He goes to Shechem. And instead of obeying God and going in the direction that God had instructed him to do, he stays in Shechem. And what happens is disastrous. Not only for him, but for the Shechemites. For all of them. He stays there. Why is he there? I don't know. Is he there to share the covenant to the Shechemites? Is he there to, hey, God said all people, all families will be blessed through me. Let me share the covenant with you. Let me share what God has promised me. Let me share the coming of Christ, the Messiah. Let me share the blood covenant with you. Let me share with you. Is that why he's there? No. Probably a nice, cool city, Shechem. Pagan city with a lot of good things. A lot of prosperity, whatever it is. It's kind of cool. It's like, so he's there. It's an idol-worshiping pagan city. Women who weren't married were considered fair game for promiscuity. In fact, it was connected to their pagan religious system. And Dinah, probably warned by her parents that this is the kind of city. Does it make any sense? This is a pagan city, idol-worshiping city. We're the chosen people of God, and you just got to be careful because she's the only daughter. 11 brothers and just her. And imagine. I can't imagine that. How would she want to have peers of her age as friends? Just wanting to go into the city and, you know what I'm saying? No. Sure, it's the same today. It's the same then. Being warned, she goes out, and it wasn't long before Shechem, the city's chieftain, took notice of Dinah. And what would happen? This would turn into an obsession, and Shechem, it says in the text, that Shechem violated her. And as he does that, it's not just, I don't know, it's not specific in the text on what happens, but after that, but what his decision after that moment is, I want to marry her. Gosh, I want her to be my wife. Okay. And he goes with his father, as a custom it was. His father and him go to Jacob and says, please, let me have her as my wife. And in fact, not just your daughter for mine. I will give you my daughters to you. The land, the trade, everything in the city, we will share. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that great? Wouldn't that be such a big door to share your faith? And Jacob's like, I don't know about that, man. Let me think a second. And now, Dinah's older brothers, Levi, and don't know the other brother's name right now, but these two, Simeon, they had something else in mind. They're like, hey, come. Yeah, we'll do that. But in order for us to be one, all of the Shechemite men have to be circumcised. You guys know this story? They agreed to it. They're thinking, hey, that's great. This clan, this family wants us to be one, and they want, and share, and this is just a minor thing. It's not a minor thing. I won't talk about my experience, but as an adult, I was circumcised as an adult. Not a minor thing. But this was the deceit, the plan, okay? Not just, what happened was, not just two men, not just the father and Shechem, all of the Shechemite men. And on the third day, when it was most painful, they came in and they murdered them. All of them. Not just the father and son, all of them. And plundered their women, their wives, their children, their livestock, their goods. So they come back, and Jacob hears of it. And this is how we know Jacob didn't know that this was their plan. And Jacob's response isn't, what? It wasn't a response of, how could you? I mean, that was a response. The response was, how have you brought trouble on me and defamed my name, our family name, to the Canaanites and to the Perizzites? He doesn't respond. God said, all families should be blessed through us. You're killing. What are you doing? That's not his response. So Jacob's order in Genesis 35, I'm sorry to bring such bad news in the backstory, but it's right there in the text. Product of man's corruption and sinfulness. In Genesis 35, 1 through 4, then he says, okay, that's it. This is the order. Arise, everyone, everybody. Okay, we're in trouble. This is what we do too. When we're in trouble, we call on God. We're in trouble. All the Canaanites and all the surrounding people, they're going to come for us because we have just done something crazy, heinous. This is crazy what we've done. Let's go to Bethel now. Now we'll go to Bethel. Let's make an altar. Put away all your foreign gods, as they were accustomed to. Jacob didn't have foreign gods, at least the text says, in his household, but he allowed it in others. But he says, put them all away, Rachel, including yours, that you stole from your father. Put those away too. Okay? Everyone cleanse, everyone change clothes. We're going to worship God. And we're going to go to build an altar, a place of slaughter. Purify yourselves, change your garments, prepare for worship. After all of that, after what Jacob's sons did, after all of Jacob's humanism, God is still faithful. He comes and God puts a terror on those around Jacob so they do not pursue him. He builds an altar and calls the place El Bethel. Place of worship, house of God. For who? For everyone. It's the pre-picture of the temple where all will be welcome, where there'll be a court of Gentiles, where there'll be a court for the children. And later Jesus would come to the defaming of that temple and flip it upside down. But there it is, the first El Bethel, house of God. And then God, in Genesis 35, and we're here at the final point, 9 through 15, God reminds Jacob, again, doesn't reprimand Jacob. He reminds him of his promise to him. He reminds him of the name that has been changed. Jacob, your new name is your new identity. I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you. And kings shall come forth from you. The land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give you. I will give you the land to your descendants after you. In conclusion, what's the point today? Despite what we've done, despite what we do, God fulfills his covenant promise, and he will. Now the question is, do you align yourself to it? Are you trusting God in it? Or is your emotions, your thoughts, your plans, what you say, motivated by something else? Is it motivated by fear? Is it motivated by worry? Is it motivated by self? Or is it really holding on to what God's desires? Because if you align yourself to the plan of God, everything that you commit, everything in your work, everything that you do, God's plans will be established within it. Does it make sense? It doesn't mean to do nothing. As you work, as you do business, as you go to school, what is the motivation? What is the direction? Proverbs 16, 3-9 says, let me read this passage in closing. Commit your work to God, then your plans will be established, verse 3 says. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Is your heart and plans aligned to the plan of God? You know it, God knows it, Satan knows it. And if it's not, then ask God to change your heart. Ask God to change your heart. Are you living in fear? Are you living in doubt? Are you living in worry? Ask God to change your heart. Are you holding on to the promises of God? God has declared, he has already accomplished the work of Christ. The debt of sin that you owe is paid in full. Tetelestai. It's done. Amen? Completed. Finished. All of the lambs in the Old Testament pointing to him. Jesus comes, the Lamb of God, pays the debt once and for all on the cross. Finished. And through his payment and his resurrection, Satan's authority is broken. And now the living God of the universe, of creation, lives and resides in you. Amen? For a reason. For a direction. It's the same promise given to Jacob that's given to us. I will be with you until I have accomplished everything I promised you. God has promised that we would be his witnesses. That we would be his bearers of light. Speakers of truth. Especially to the next generation. That's the mission. So I bless you in Jesus' name that you hold firmly to that covenant, because there's nothing else. What else is there to live for? Everything else will perish and go away. Nothing will go with you except for people. Except for people. Finally, in conclusion, I implore you to pray for others. I implore you daily to hold on to the gospel, the value of it, the price that was paid for your salvation, that's been paid in full. See the value in it. Give thanks to God, glory to God, honor to God for what he's done. Don't forget it. And as you are reminded of the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God in fulfilling his promise, pray for others to receive it. Because if you've received it and you know what you've received, it's not an option to want to give it to someone else, right? Make a list. If it's written on your heart, so be it. I have bad memory. I forget. Make a list. Put names and look at those names. Pray over those names. Family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, children, youth, the hope for the next generation. Pray over them. And August 14th, invite them to come to the barbecue. If you can make it. When they come, we're praying for them, parents, students that I coach, that I don't, that I know. Just come and I'm going to prepare material for continuation. We have a Christian club on high school campus. We have worship every week in the middle school. They don't have to come to church. They don't have to come to CMC. They can get the word in their field. And we're going to let parents know that we have a Saturday Youth Connect meeting. They can come play basketball. They can come play instruments. They can come do whatever they want. It's open. Come. You can send them. You can trust us. You can trust God. But if you want some, I'm vetted by the high school. You got security clearance, and you can. If you don't trust that, just talk to me, and Yeah, in this day and age, you don't know, right? But that's the prayer topic, guys. So if you could pray for that. Let's take a moment to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. Despite our fear, despite our doubt, despite our humanism, God, you are unchanging, unwavering. We thank you so much for what you have already accomplished, what you have already completed. Help us to trust you. Help us to hold firmly to your covenant promise that the end will come when the gospel is preached to the ends of the earth. We humbly ask, God, that you would use this church. You would use not only this church, but the whole body of Christ, extended, worshiping online, those connected to us in some way, shape, or form. Please use all of us, Lord, for your kingdom's sake. Give us your grace and mercy this week. We thank you and pray these things in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen.